I am not giving you any tips today on like, you have to go buy this tool and it's going to make you more efficient in wrapping a car or wrapping a bumper. I am not going to influence you hard to buy anything. These are all things that just make the efficiency of the overall wrap process better.
Are you wrapping cars more than 12 hours a day, every day? Working nonstop but can barely get by? Burnout, missing deadlines, and wondering just how much longer you can keep this up?
That was us too. We started our wrap shop buried under $250,000 in debt, and it felt absolutely impossible. But we dug out, built a profitable shop, and are still in the trenches of owning and operating a wrap shop. We're here to share what we learned along the way so that you don't make the same mistakes that we did.
And we're here to help you with the business side of the wraps, like pricing, building a team, streamlining your systems, ultimately so that you can run your shop and your shop stops running you.
Welcome to the WrapOps Podcast, brought to you by Wrap Fam Unleashed. I'm coming at you today with a quick episode as it has been a super busy week here with WrapOps and with our home wrap shop, Performance Wraps. So right now for us, it's quarterlies, which means we have our team quarterly meeting where we get everyone on board with our goal. We assess how we did last quarter, all that fun stuff. We also have our quarterly reviews. We also have planning for the holidays, which is crazy that we're already planning out holidays for our team members and whatnot. And we are also onboarding 3 new hires. So it has been just a crazy busy week here. And today is me and Andrew's 4th wedding anniversary. So we're getting old here, even though we've known each other much longer. But yeah, so good things are happening, but crazy busy. And I'm coming at you guys today with just a quick and very tangible episode of just basically some things that will make your wrap shop function just like a well-oiled machine. These are things that you can create, buy, or do that will increase the efficiencies of your shop. And these are all things that we have learned the hard way. And I wish I could go back in time and like give myself this episode a long time ago. But it took about 7 years of owning this shop before we could figure out these efficiencies. So let's just dive straight into it. So the first thing I'm going to go over is, of course, just your shop layout and useful items that could be throughout the shop. So the first thing is starting with your lobby area. And I know I've been to different shops and everyone's a little bit different. Some, have just an open concept where your lobby and your print room and your install bay is all together. Ours is segmented out just because that's the layout of our building. So obviously take everything I say with a grain of salt and think how it would best work for your space. But the first things first is with the lobby. So if you have customers who of course walk in, I'm sure people drop off their keys or maybe do some sort of consultation with you or they're interested in purchasing. Where do they walk in? And of course that is your customer lobby. If you can have this area separate from the install bay, it is a huge difference. We used to have it together where right when a customer walked in, they could see exactly what was being worked on. And it just added this like level of stress to the shop that was unnecessary when an installer would see a customer walk in and who knows, maybe that customer showed up an hour early or something. And then like the customer would want to like go over and watch their vehicle actively get wrapped, which of course just makes the person who's installing typically more nervous. I know some people are probably cool with it, but I've had a lot of people work for our shop who are not cool with it. So if you can have those areas separate or find a way to make them separate, even if you have that open concept, that would be a huge lifesaver. Another thing too with that is some sort of sound when someone walks in. So if you have the open concept, it could be as simple as like the little bell on the door so you can hear when the door opens in case you are your own front desk person. Or if you have a front desk person hired and they called off or they're on vacation or anything like that. In our case, our front desk is completely separate from our install bay. So we actually had a beeper installed. It was the same person who installed our security cameras so that we can always have kind of like that live feed of what's going on in the shop. If I could go back in time, I would actually adjust it to installing essentially an electronic doorbell where there's a little sign that says, if no one is here to help, please ring the doorbell. That's because what I've noticed with just the beep on the front door is we're running up to the front just when like the mailman walks in or mail lady in our case walks in. or a package is delivered or something that like doesn't really require someone to be up front. They can just sit that down and keep going. So if I could update that, I would look into a doorbell system, and that should help you a ton. The next thing is if you have your own in-house printers. So if you don't have your own printers, this doesn't really apply to you, but still a little bit of useful tidbits here that could help you out. So the first thing, I don't know why this took us so long to get right, but you should have a prep table right next to your laminator. We actually have it set up to where it something could be laminated and then roll right onto the prep table if it was small enough. Of course, when you have those larger jobs, that's kind of silly to do that, but it just efficiency wise makes all the difference if you can prep your prints exactly next to your printer. That also allows time for that person to quality check the prints. Is there any hair in the laminate? Does anything look maybe pixelated or cut off, or the little lines that happen sometimes with the printers? Any of those items, it kind of allows for a quick quality check without the walk back and forth from the install area to the printer. The next thing is when those prints are being prepped, where do they go? So our shop just reuses the old boxes that vinyl comes in, typically more of the color change boxes because those are your 60-inch ones, whereas the printed material is more of that like 54-inch box. So we like the bigger ones for that. But you just cut the top section off of it and then we just tape it to reinforce it. And then we actually upped it a little bit further and we purchased these little whiteboards that go on the front of the box and just use a binder clip to clip it on. And that way we can write and reuse the customer's name, so that, you're not using a Sharpie. We tried using tape, but I got into an issue where like employees weren't removing the old tape and then it was just a giant like 2-inch thing of tape on top of each other. And I think these little whiteboards cost like $5 on Amazon for a pack of 20 or something like that. It wasn't bad at all. And if you're listening to me and not watching like the YouTube video, I will be sure to upload a couple photos of these items if you're interested in what exactly I'm talking about. You can go to wrapops.com/resources. Those are all the resources that we mention in all of our episodes. So definitely go check that out when you have a chance if you aren't tuning into us through YouTube. The next thing is we don't move the boxes. So the boxes I just talked about that have the prints in them, those do not get moved from the print room to the install bay until it's all printed for the whole job. So there's not this confusion of like, wait, was that printed? Was it not printed? So we have our print operator print everything for the job, and then she checks off that everything is there. She cuts everything to size. If there's any decals, she weeds and masks it. Huge asset to our shop, and then signs off that everything is there and then passes it over to the installers. And they have their own prep table in the back that it just slides right under there and sits there and is just ready for the job. So in our shop, we print everything at least a week in advance. So the goal is that she is always printing for the following week. So she's always kind of a week in the future. Decals. So this idea actually was created by my team, which is super cool. So they noticed that we would put decals in the box. And if you've ever gotten subbed out or worked with another company that just handed you the decals, sometimes they come rolled up and they kind of separate from the vinyl that way, making it pretty hard to install, or they might get damaged or stuck together. All sorts of things could happen. And so we actually came up with the idea to put like little hooks on the wall, and they just like 3-hole punch. I mean, you could probably just pop it through. You probably don't even have to 3-hole punch it, but we have a 3-hole punch there. They just punch it and it sits on the hook. So the decals are kind of like hanging on the wall so that they stay essentially flat until that job gets there. And then the same exact thing, they have the little whiteboards above them to where we write the client's name. So you know that your vinyl prints, like in your large pieces, are going to be in those cardboard boxes under the table, and your decals are always going to be hanging. So that has been a really great way to organize some of the things in the kind of print process, print room, print area, whatever your shop may have. The next item we have, or the next location rather, is the install base. So we have a few things for this, and I'm going to start with also letting you know I am not giving you any tips today on like, you have to go buy this tool and it's going to make you more efficient in wrapping a car or wrapping a bumper. So I'm not going over any specific tool. I am not going to influence you hard to buy anything. These are all things that just make the efficiency of the overall wrap process better. So you're not going to hear me bring up a specific squeegee or anything like that. So the first thing I'm going to bring up, oh my gosh, we went through 100,000 renditions of this and we have finally landed on it. We call it the trash can cart. So essentially, we have the round, well, I think they're like 50-gallon, I think is the number. Hopefully, that's not outrageously wrong. We have the round trash cans on wheels, and then there's a caddy that we have that fits inside of it. And then inside that caddy has all of the things you could think of that are not in your pouch. So it's not your, it's not your knife or your squeegee, but it is your promoter or your edge seal tape. Let's see, extra buffers, extra knives, or extra blades. So all sorts of things, all the different types of tape, design line, all the sprays, everything that they use to clean, extra towels, they all are somehow adhered to this cart. And again, there'll be a photo posted so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. That way, the installer is not always walking back and forth a million times to get the job done. So that just came from us kind of noticing, like, wow, they spend a lot of time walking back and forth and then they can't remember what they went over there for. So it holds everything all together, and every single installer that comes in our building has their own cart with their own tools. They typically label them with either their own specific vinyl color or they just use tape and a Sharpie and write their name, whatever it may be, so that they all know like those are their tools. And that's how we do the individual tools. Now, we do have what we call community tools, which is more of your tools for like breakdown and hardware. So this also took us a minute to come across, but we call it a mobile toolbox. So we have a toolbox that's on wheels. It looks like a little cart and it has all of the tools that you would need to break down, simple things like your door handles, your bumpers, whatever you may be taking apart. And that way they can roll the toolbox to whatever car that they are working on instead of walking back and forth a million times trying to disassemble the pieces of a car. That being said, we also have some storage for those pieces that come off. So little things, little bolts, nuts, whatever they may be, clips. We use a tackle box per job, and they use just like that same like painter's tape or masking tape to kind of label the different squares with what it may be. So we always hope that it's the same person putting the vehicle together who took it apart, but you never know when someone may call off or whatever the case may be. So we always train to be so organized that someone else could put this car back together and know exactly what those nuts and bolts go to. So that's where the little pieces go. If it's something small like a door handle, we typically just store those like on the floorboard of the car. So we're also trained we don't ever put anything on any of the seats or anything that could cause like a little bit of like oil or damage to the interior of the vehicle. So they can use the floorboard. But if it's a bigger piece that is being removed, I don't know, maybe a spoiler or some trim pieces or things like that, we have a metal shelf that physically gets rolled out to wherever that vehicle is that they can put those pieces on there. And that way you don't have all those pieces on the ground. That used to be us. Things get broken because people are stepping on them and then things are misplaced. And, God forbid you run over a piece with another car or something like that. So the rolling metal shelf rack apparatus, we have two of them, that has also been a game changer for us as well. And I would highly recommend that. Moving on to the next thing that has really helped the efficiency of the install portion of our shop. This one we didn't used to do, but we have worked our way up to it. And that is a laundry service for our dirty towels. So we lucked out that we're like 2 blocks away from this laundry service. So I don't even think they charge us pickup and delivery. But we just essentially put our dirty shop towels that we use to clean the vehicles into a laundry bag that they provide us and leave it by the door. And they have someone come every Monday and Thursday and either pick up or drop off whatever we have put out for them. That has been so nice. I cannot tell you how many times before that that it would be panic mode because, we're down to 2 towels and no one did towels, or someone was supposed to and they forgot, or I'm trying to take them home on the weekend and do them, whatever it may be, just kind of adding that set system to guarantee that you always have your towels has been worth the investment in my point of view. We used to send installers all the time to, like, there's also a laundromat down the street, because our shop does not have hookups for a washer and dryer. We have looked into it. That would of course be like ideal if you had a washer and dryer and could kind of keep that rolling while people were working. But maybe you're like us and you just don't have the hookups for something like that inside your building, and it was astronomical to get that installed. We did have someone come out and quote us for that. So anyway, the laundry service for the towels, 10 out of 10 recommend. Um, really have enjoyed that. The next thing is we have an on-site install separate bag. I think we actually have like a bag and a box, so we kind of have two things. In an ideal world, we have like a whole vehicle outfitted for on-site installs. We haven't gotten to that just yet. We just use we do have an old vehicle that we have that is wrapped with our branding, that our team can use to take to on-sites, but we don't keep the tools in there, mostly because I don't like things sitting in a hot car. I just feel like that damages things. So we keep everything in a to-go bag, that way the installers really just have to grab, like, get your vinyl and get your pouch and go ahead and get out. Obviously, per job there may be something that requires you to grab extra, like maybe it's filthy, so you need to grab extra towels or something like that. But at the end of every on-site install, they know to restock it for the next install so that they can roll out. So it's always easier to restock at the end than to restock on your way out the door when you're trying to rush to get somewhere and make it there on time. So at our shop, they call it the hot to go bag. Thank you, Chapel Roan, for influencing the name of that. But yeah, so get you a hot to go bag because it is nice to have that packed up and ready to go instead of having to pack it every single time, which is what we used to do. My next item, it's pretty simplistic. We have a central spot that holds car keys. It is literally just a key lock box. It is in the install bay. It is not in the front desk area. So it used to be in the front desk area, but then we noticed installers were, constantly going and needing keys. So they're constantly walking up front versus the front desk person only needs the keys for pickup, for client pickup. So we actually moved that box to the back of the shop, and the front desk person is trained that when someone drops off, they will put the key in the box and then they shoot a message out to everyone saying, such and such client is here, keys in the box. And then our installers are trained that whenever they are done using the key, whether they pull the vehicle in or they needed to roll a window down for something, they put the key back in the box. So no longer are the days of searching for the keys while the client's at the door and we can't remember where we put it and everyone's panicking, because we have done that too. So that really fixed that, and it's just a roll. When you're done with keys, they go back in the box. And I can't remember the last time a set of keys was missing dramatically. So it's worked so far. I highly recommend. The next one is a scrap vinyl system. So if you are like me and feel bad about throwing scrap away, because if you know me, I am a big environmentalist. And that's a big piece of me, and it hurts my soul to see the amount of scrap vinyl that is thrown away. And we're working on trying to get the recycling and everything set up for it, but at this exact moment we just have a scrap vinyl system that we use. So the first thing is almost all of scrap black is kept in a specific box, kind of similar to the box I mentioned earlier that holds project vinyl. It's a little more heavy duty. We have a plastic version of it, and that's because sometimes you need, let's say, a 50-inch by like 80-inch piece of gloss black. Well, that still leaves you a 10-inch by 80-inch piece of scrap, which is a pretty decent chunk of scrap. So our installers are taught to get that measurement, roll it up, write the measurement on a piece of tape, and throw it in that box. That way it can be used later on a chrome delete. And we go through that pretty often. It could be used for a chrome delete, maybe a little antenna on the roof, all sorts of like littler applications that maybe you just need a really long skinny piece and like, oh my gosh, there it is in the scrap. Look at that. So Of course, if it's damaged, things like that, we don't keep it. But that has been really nice for chrome deletes. And then printed vinyl, or if there's like a misprint that causes us to have to reprint a massive piece or a whole panel. So we actually keep that and we put it in, we have a little training facility, if you will. And we like to use those large pieces for our new people that we are training. So let's say we have a brand new person who has never wrapped a van before. We will throw them on the side of a van with one of those scrap pieces of vinyl before they go live with the actual panel. That way they can make their mistakes, they're not nervous. It does take time away from the day, you know what I mean? Because of course it would be nice if they were throwing the live panel, but when you're training people, that's what it takes and you kind of have to take a step back to get forward. So, yeah, that's what we do with our printed vinyl. And the team does have a cleaning out system, which we'll go over in a little bit, for kind of like realizing, okay, this has been sitting here for a minute. And it's time to go. We do that for color change vinyl also. If we have color change vinyl, it's typically displayed on the wall. I'm sure you've seen that at other shops or maybe at your own where you have like the cool rolls on the wall. Fun fact, ours is homemade with hooks and PVC. So that is how I made ours because when I first was setting up our shop, we did not have money for those. I think they're like $500 racks. I haven't looked at them in a minute. I bet the price has gone up. But I was like, I can buy PVC. And it worked. And it displays the vinyl. It's probably not the most user friendly item in the world, but it does look cool. So if you need a cheap hack for that, you can just buy the little $4 hooks and PVC piping to store your vinyl. And so those are displayed on the wall. And then, same thing, they might be used for training. And then at some point, they will get tossed because, as we all know, vinyl has a shelf life. So it doesn't last forever. And then my final thing that I want to mention here, apart from, having certain elements in your lobby, your print room, or your install room, is just the importance of a clean shop towards your efficiencies. So I am very proud of the fact that a very common compliment that we get, not only from customers, but also from like people that I'm interviewing when I give a shop tour, almost the first thing that comes out of their mouth is like, wow, it is very clean here. It is very organized. And that is because I am OCD. And I think I have made Andrew that way. And we are just now a little OCD pair. I'm probably way worse than he is, but I have rubbed off on him, which is wonderful. So everything in our shop has its place. And I am very particular about that. That being said, I understand when the team is like absolutely kicked in the mouth with a bunch of projects, and I'll look the other way when things get messy. But when it starts to have a lull, I'm like, all right, we need to reset. We need to fix this. So the first thing is all the way down to the employee lockers. So you can just go on Amazon and buy employee lockers, and that is their space. So we have lockers set up for them. You can even go on Facebook Marketplace. I actually did this in my house where I actually have lockers that I painted pink. If you couldn't tell, if you're not with me on YouTube, I love pink. So pink is everywhere for me. But anyway, give them a locker, give them a space to put snacks or, their purse, their bag, whatever they have. And then I have like coat hooks right next to it for winter because we're located in Ohio. So, of course, everyone has their coats in the winter, but everyone has their own locker. So, employees have their own spot apart from their trash can caddy, which has their tools on it. I even have a junk dropping spot, which means, let me give you an example. So maybe we go to a car show or a trade show and we have our whole booth set up there. And then, we get back and we're exhausted. Everyone kind of knows to throw everything in this spot and I will take care of it and get it put away. Another thing is if we organize something and we realize we don't need it, they will typically put it and the spot is right outside my office. So lucky me, I have kind of like a chaos dropping zone right outside my office. But it helps me because I know that the things outside my office are typically things that maybe I need to sell on Facebook Marketplace or drive to Goodwill or whatever the case may be. It is kind of like the junk dropping spot. And so that is kind of how nitty gritty it is, that there's like a set organized disorganization. Does that make sense? You get the gist. The next thing is a cleaning chart. So back in the day, I felt I had to clean the entire shop 24/7. Like I was like, "Oh, I can't ask an installer to clean the shop because they didn't sign up to clean the building." And as I've kind of progressed through this, I have realized the importance of a clean shop for not only the installers, but also the print operator and the front desk person. And everyone benefits from a clean shop. So, what we ended up coming up with is pretty self explanatory. It's just a cleaning chart. So, I thought of what is everything that would keep this building clean, and how can I set up a system to where the team divides and conquers and gets it done in like an hour, what would take me the entire day. So on that chart is, of course, your sweeping, your mopping, refilling bottles, restocking inventory items, cleaning the bathrooms. We have two bathrooms here, so we even divvy it up like front of house takes care of the front, back of house takes care of the back. Um, we have what we call our shop operations assistant. That is the person or persons who cleans the cars here. They also help keep the shop clean. So typically it is them doing the cleaning chart, but in the event that we might be down that position or maybe they're out, then the rest of the team picks up the slack and completes those cleaning items. The cleaning chart is set up weekly, monthly, and quarterly. So quarterly is your more difficult task, like we will pressure wash the trash cans because the trash cans get kind of nasty, or it may be cleaning out the fridge and wiping the fridge down because we have a little kitchenette type area for everyone's lunch. Monthly is as nitty gritty as changing the AC filters so that we can keep the air clean and keep the dust out of the wraps and out of the air. So the team takes care of that. And yeah, the cleaning chart has really done wonders for us. And it's pretty much assigned to the team. So let's say we're waiting on cars to drop off on Monday. If it's a little light on work, then it's like, great, let's knock out our cleaning and let's reset and make sure that everyone has a great week because everyone just works better in a clean environment and your wraps turn out better. I mean, we really do rely on things being clean in order for the wrap to stick to the car. So I'm a little OCD about it, but I'm not ashamed. It's fine. And then the next thing is everything, and I kind of mentioned this, everything gets restocked, and we do that through a weekly inventory. So we had to work our way up to this. I remember when we first were in the business and we had to wait until we got that customer deposit to buy that gloss black vinyl. I have definitely been there, and I understand that completing a weekly inventory is not something that some people can do right off the rip. So, like I said, take this with a grain of salt or maybe see it as something to work for. Or if you are capable of doing it and aren't doing it yet, then I highly, highly, highly recommend it. So, it is as simple as a Google Sheet with all the items that we need to run our shop. I am talking everything from extra squeegees and buffers down to toilet paper, printer ink, and coffee. So it is all on there and we keep a certain amount. So we always stock to like a full amount. So, an example, we stock clay bars. So we will stock to 5 clay bars. So if I see that 4 is in there, it's time to order because now I've dipped below my threshold. So we never get all the way to empty. We always kind of get to whatever the threshold is that we've set. So that includes our vinyl that we're working with as well, our laminate, everything is inventoried. And then this also includes on inventory. I mentioned earlier that we have that mobile tool cart with tools. Well, we put all of the tools, I'm wording this weird, all of the tools are one brand. So for a second there, we started like buying different brands of things like, oh, we need this drill, but oh, we need this shot back, and oh, we need this eraser wheel, and we need this buffer. And it ended up being like all these different brands, and it got super confusing. What battery goes to what, and oh, where's the charger for that? So we actually ended up doing a purge where we kind of sold everything on Facebook Marketplace and we switched everything to Ryobi. So all of our drills and everything that we have are Ryobi. And we did that mainly for the battery so that everything operates off the same battery and there's a giant battery block charging station right above the toolbox where the toolbox sits when it's not in use. That being said, when we implemented that on our inventory, not only are we checking for things that we need to order, we're also checking to make sure that those items are there and they haven't walked off. So the reason for that is, let's say that you have a $60, $70 drill and all of a sudden you see that it's missing. You can ask the team, has anyone seen the drill? No one's seen the drill. Well, it's time to retrace your steps. Did you leave it at an on site? Maybe you left it inside someone's car, and that's a whole separate thing of checking the car for tools and things like that. But just doing those weekly checks, make sure that those more high dollar items you're really keeping track of. And I say that because we bought a $600 eraser wheel a year or two ago, and it just disappeared. To this day, don't know where that eraser wheel was. And that was kind of our moment where we were like, okay, we need to get a better grasp on our more expensive tools. And if you remember from previous episodes, our shop's an iPad shop. We got the iPad kids. So we also check to make sure everyone still has their iPad and their pen. But everyone is assigned their own iPad and pen, but I still physically walk around, or whoever is completing inventory, to make sure, hey, you got your iPad, your pen, your charger, good. And that is added to the list. So, those are really the main things that we have done that are quick and easy that can help increase the efficiency of the shop. I hope that you got some ideas that you can take away and implement. And please, 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 you can find us on Facebook and on Instagram. You can also find us on wrapops.com. You can leave us a question if you have any questions. If you want to leave us a comment of something that you have done, if you're like, hey, I'm actually doing something way better than that, we would love to hear it. Definitely give us your feedback and share this podcast with someone that you think could help. But my biggest ask today is, if you felt like this podcast or any of the other episodes have helped you in any way, please, please, please leave us a review. Just want to help get the word out and help as many wrap shops as we can so that they don't have to go through the struggles that we have been through. So I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your week, and we will catch you in the next episode.